All right. So, question number one: what was your overall reaction to this book, and what did you like and not like about it?
Okay, I'll go first. My overall reaction to the book, I thought it was a very good book, good writing. I thought it was timely, which I'm always enjoying. That is, timely, especially what's going on now. The sad thing is, it's always timely because we're always being, Black people or people of color are always being targeted by the police. So it could be during Rodney King time, Emmett Till time. It's always timely because it's always happening. So it's an important book. As far as not like things about it, I'm not like that with literature. It's not really a no like. I mean, I take it for what it is. I get something from everything. So I can't really say it's nothing I didn't like about it. Nothing off top that I could think of
Yeah.
I'll go next. I love the progression and growth of the characters kind of throughout the entire book. That was kind of one of the things that were really cool to me. The growth to see with the father, just with Star, just all the progression that they made and the growth. I didn't really say that there was nothing that I didn't like about it. I agree with Tabitha that there's something you can get out of anything. So.
Anybody else?
I like that the fact that the father started teaching them at a young age of what to do and what not to do as far as when getting stopped by the police. And nowadays, it seems like that's what we need to do more to teach our children at a younger age. It's sad that it has to be that way, but the fact that Star knew what to do early and he instilled it into them at a young age. So that was the most important part that stuck out to me.
Okay, cool. Anybody else?
That it's relatable to today. I liked when the older guy, and I'm jumping ahead, when they was telling him he was snitching or whatever, you know what I'm saying? And they're telling him like, you can't be snitching, whatever. And he's like, look, he done been through the war. He done came back. He's got this fake leg. What else can they do to me, right? But kill me. So I'm telling, and that's the problem with society today. Like, we have so much going on and nobody's telling. Somebody knows something about everything that's happening out here, but nobody's telling because no one wants to be labeled a snitch. And some people have these people living in their houses, maybe they're their neighbors, and no one's telling. So we wonder, well, I always wonder, like, what can we do to help our own communities? And I think that's where it needs to start at. People needs to start telling because it's not going to stop as long as we help keeping these people fugitives, help keeping them out here on the streets doing what they're doing. Like personally, I don't want to wake up to gunshots. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to hear them off in the distance. I'm a mama of three black men, three black boys, young men, and I want to be able to live comfortably and not having to worry about them when they're out trying to live their lives, you know?
Right.
So I just think it is timely and it's real relatable to what's going on today.
Absolutely. Tamara?
I love the book because it wasn't one dimensional. Like I even like how when Star goes to school, she still was conflicted about how do you act in black environments versus none. So just me working in corporate America, I could relate to that. And I like how strong her father was, even though he was so flawed. Like even though like mistakes don't deter you, I just really like the book. I didn't think I would like it this much because it does happen so much. You know, you hear so many stories. I just wasn't sure, but it drew me in.
Yeah, it did. I really love the book. Once again, I liked it because it was relatable to today. It hit so many points, since we just have the Black Lives Matter movement, and I could relate to Star, living in both worlds, so I mean, I think we all can relate to somebody in the book, you know what I mean, or know somebody or anything like that. So I really love the book. The movie, I cried. Yeah, I don't know, man. It really, I got to see the emotions on the movie. So I mean, reading it was like, okay, you know, what else gonna happen? But the movie really brought out. I noticed that it really brought out the emotions from the characters. So that really touched me. All right, so I'm glad everybody liked the book. I actually purchased it. Yeah, I was like, yeah, I need this because this is a book I feel that all young people need to read. Okay, before I start preaching. All right, question number 2 is Star and Khalil listen to Tupac. Khalil explains what Tupac said thug life meant. Discuss the meaning of the term thug life and why author Angie Thomas used the first part as the title of her book. In what ways do you see this manifested in society? Anybody can
The
go
hate
first.
you give infants. What was it? The hate you give infants. Thug life. Um, I think, I don't know, that it's just stating how people are products of their environment, how you are born, how you are raised, where you are raised. That, I mean, that all has a part in us being who we are growing up. Um, but I
Mhm.
also think that it's the choice to want better and to be better than where you're from, how you
True
were
that.
raised.
True. Anybody else want to share?
Thug life obviously mean the hate you give is going to come back to you. And I think it just talks about the systemic racism that we experience in our community and how, Caucasians or the majority always hating on us for different reasons, just like in the book, because we look a certain way, we walk a certain way, we're assumed things are assumed about us. So all of that hate is poured into us, and then we strike back, which is why the riots happen. And I know that's like a controversial topic, and people like, how people burn down their own neighborhoods, and it doesn't make any sense. And I'm always very conflicted about that because on one hand, I was raised a certain way and it's nothing that I would do ever. But on the other hand, I've never been so marginalized that I needed to do it. So I have to keep that in mind that even though I'm not white, there's a privilege with coming with never understanding that hopelessness. So I don't, you know what I mean? So I'm never one to say, well, they shouldn't, do it again. Part of me believes that, but also part of me knows what it's like to not have a voice. And that's really what that is. So I feel like unless someone is deeply impoverished, unless someone has experienced some of those things, it's hard to really judge. But anyway, that's what that means, that the hate that's been given to African Americans is, comes back to bite the people that actually give the hate.
True. Anybody else? Well, I agree with Tabitha. Like she said, it does actually start with the hate that they give to us. And actually, it starts way back um, in times when, of course, we were slaves and all that. So the hate is actually instilled um, many, many moons ago. And like she said, it comes back to bite us. That's why we have so much, of the shootings and um, the gang banging, the drugs, all of that. Like the father's who said that? He was like, yeah, the father. He was like, we don't know no pilot jets. How does the drugs get flown over here? So where is it coming from? So that was one point that he made, which was very true. So actually, I was really shocked when I saw the meaning of thug life because I never knew that. Okay. Did y'all know that already? What that meant?
No, ma'am.
I did not.
I kind of knew because I was a real big Tupac fan.
Really?
Yeah, when I was younger.
I was
Another
like,
Tupac love over here.
I was really shocked. I was like, okay, makes sense. So I was really happy about that. That I found that out. these years, many years later. All right, so we're gonna move to question number 3. Star shares that her parents gave her and her older brother the talk, specifically about what to do when encountering a police officer. Sorry. Have you had the same talk with your parents, or have you given it to your children?
That's a good question.
I have
Yes.
definitely had to talk with my children. Like I said, I have 3 boys or
Right.
young men now. My youngest is 20. So um, my concern or worry is that I want them to come back home in the same way that they left, if not better. Um, so yeah, most definitely. Even though they are adults now, I still talk to them because them being adults, it doesn't stop me as a mother from worrying and
Right.
seeing all of everything that's happening in the news. Like, I don't watch the news as much as I used to because it's discouraging and it wreaks havoc on my anxiety. So, yeah.
Amen.
Well, I
Anybody else?
personally don't have children yet, but I have a 17-year-old brother, so he's my baby. And it wasn't until there was so much police brutality going on that my parents and I decided that, you know what, we need to have this conversation with him and just kind of see where his head is at. And him going to a predominantly white high school, he's really struggled with just coming to grips that this is really happening to the extent that it was. So for a long time, even with him driving, there was a lot of nervousness going on. So we had to get him to understand, like, you're okay. You just need to follow these steps. And even then, having to follow steps for safety, that's a lot to grasp. That's a whole lot to grasp. So, I mean, even now, like, there was an occasion where my boyfriend got pulled over. I went into panic mode just thinking about this. And it's a shame. Like, it really is a shame that we have to, but we have to have these conversations. And even now, my brother, when he's driving, I still get nervous all the time. Even him being, because where he lives, he resides in Oswego. Like, there's not a lot. It's diverse, but there's still worries. So
Yeah.
we've definitely experienced this recently.
Mm.
Growing up, that conversation was a part of my growing up. Like, that was a conversation we always had about how to conduct yourself. And it's okay to be right, but in that case, you just want to live. So you don't have to be right in that moment. You just go along to get along. And I do think those are necessary conversations. And I do have a son, and I do talk to him about that. Like, it's okay to be right, but you got to stand down to live, and you can fight that battle another way. Like, you're not gonna win in that moment. So I think that just him knowing the practicalities of that, like that helps.
Another concern also is just because you're doing right in the moment, like you're standing down, some people still have died, not made it out alive, or have been injured or mishandled. So it's just all crazy. Even I hate when if I look in my rearview mirror and I see a cop riding behind me, I get nervous. I don't know why. I'm not doing nothing wrong. I'm legit. You know what I'm saying? But with everything that's going on, it's just caused unnecessary anxiety. And I just don't like the feeling. I don't.
That is true. Anybody else? Well, I just want to say that, I don't have no kids and nothing like that, but I do feel for my people that I know that have kids, and I hope that they've given their kids to talk, because it's real out there. People, you may not want to talk about it as a parent, but you got to, because it's certain rules that you need to know what to do when they come up on you. And all that talking back ain't gonna get it. I'm sorry, it ain't gonna get it. So you definitely need to know the rules and need to let your kids know. They need to let the kids know what to do in that situation, and because there are rules. And I was not given a talk, but I'm sure I'm gonna take notes. You know, I pretty much know, you know, kind of what not to do now because I'm older now, but I wasn't given a talk. So I definitely hope parents are um, sharing that information with their children so that everything will be okay. And I agree with Lysandra. You know what I mean? When I'm driving and I see a cop behind me, I do get anxiety. Like, oh, damn. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'll be like tweaking, you know what I mean? So, for no reason. Even if you got everything, you just something that you do, you know? So I can understand it and I totally feel it. Um, Question number 4. Discuss Star's neighborhood. How is it described in negative terms?
I didn't even see it as negative. It's like any hood I've lived in, right? Like this is where I'm from. Things happen around here where I live, and I feel like just mind my business and I'm gonna be okay. I mean, most times the hood people, everybody know everybody or just about, unless new people are coming in. So I didn't look at it as a negative term. I just think that it's people out. It's not like the ideal place to stay, but it's not unfamiliar.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've stayed in the hood, I've stayed in better hoods, but to me, it just is what it is, and I didn't take anything negative from it.
I
Oh,
go ahead.
oh no. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, it was very familiar. It put me in the mind of the same cycle repeats itself. You grow up in this hood, your kids grow up in this hood, and it's like you have to have a big job or something just to get out, or else you'll get caught up in the same system with the drugs, the gangs, and everything if you don't get out. So it looked kind of familiar from seeing the different neighborhoods in the Chicago land area, but it seems like it was just a regular neighborhood that repeats its cycle. Nothing new, nothing old. Everybody's struggling to make it and doing whatever they need to do to survive, whether it's sell drugs or working at the corner store. And that's what the dad did, had his own store. He owned the store, but he was just trying to provide for his family.
Mm-hmm.
It was describes like a lot of poverty, drugs, and violence. And one of the points they made, like when they sent their kids away to get a better education, I understood that because my first child was special needs, and we was in the city, and you don't get the same resources in the city. We had to move to a suburb so that he get the resources he needed to be okay. And it was like one of the sad things because just based on where you live depends on your outcome sometimes, you know. So like had we stayed, he wouldn't have got the help that he need, you know. So I really related to a lot of stuff in the book.
Yeah, definitely. What do you think are the positives in their neighborhood?
I thought it was positive just because honestly, it reminded me of old neighborhoods, but it's a lot of neighborhoods aren't even like that anymore. You know what I mean? Because like they said, they helped each other.
Yep.
So it was an impoverished neighborhood. We know that. But remember, the neighbors looked out for each other. When something bad happened to one, it happened to all of them. Honestly, a lot of times people don't even know their neighbors anymore. You know what I mean?
You
Like
right about that.
it's not even like I dare live next door to people. You know what I mean? I mean, no block club parties, you don't see any. And it's still some blocks like that. Don't get me wrong. You know, you still know those close blocks. They decorate Christmas stuff together. I mean, it's still blocks like that. But for the most part, we're really not connected with our neighbors. So I thought that was positive. Like, yes, they were in poverty. Yes, they were, on the peripheral of life. Yes, they were marginalized, all that stuff. But at the same time, they rode for each other and they said it. You know what I mean? Like, so I feel like it's hard. Again, it does repeat a cycle because you're in that neighborhood, you get pregnant by the dude down the street, y'all have a kid, and that kid is in poverty, and then the cycle repeats itself. But also too, it felt like, you had the possibility of getting out too, so I thought it was positive. And honestly, I wish a lot of blocks were more like that, even though that they are poor blocks. I wish it was more connection that just doesn't exist. That lack of connection is really another reason why everybody feels like nobody rides for each other. Why nobody does snitch. It's because it's the lack of connection with each other. Everybody looking out, looking out for themselves and not the neighborhood as a whole. So yeah, I thought it was a poor neighborhood, but it's still, to me, it was as positive as it could be despite the circumstances.
Yeah. All right. Next question. How does Star feel about her neighborhood? And how does it compare to her uncle's neighborhood? Well, I'm gonna say she was ashamed of her neighborhood. Oh, my bad. Go ahead, Dina.
No, you're fine.
I'm gonna just say this real quick. I feel like she's, ashamed of her neighborhood because of the stuff that goes on, the violence and all that, and the poverty and the drug dealing and all that. So she's a little ashamed of it when she goes to school and around her other friends. And her uncle, he's in the suburbs and it's a lot more peaceful. You go out and play. They can't even keep their bikes in their house. They got to keep it over there. So I definitely understand the difference, and I understand that how it is sometimes. Although it's a sad situation, I can definitely understand. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I feel like she feels conflicted. I feel that she still finds a sense of pride with her neighborhood, but at the same time, because she does go to a different school, she also sees that there are differences in the neighborhoods based off her uncles. So for me, it's kind of a little bit of both. She's ashamed, but also proud, but still conflicted. So just trying to find that balance, I feel she was trying to kind of grasp.
Hey, let me just add to, I think who said this, the name maybe, I'm not sure, but how the book evolved. I'm sorry if I'm giving credit to the wrong person, but notice she evolved. Like, she grew from being ashamed to being proud. You know what I mean? Because again, perspective is everything. As we grow up, we realize that we may not have all we have, but all we want, but we have all we need. So she definitely, they moved out, better life, all that stuff. But I feel like she evolved to not be ashamed of where she came from. So I can't remember who said that, but that was the evolving was very obvious for all the characters, which is a sign of great writing.
Mm-hmm. Anybody else? All right, next question. The police, the media, and some of Star's friends refer to Khalil's background of drug and gang activity whenever the case is discussed. Is this fair and or relevant?
It's life. It's how it play out in the real world. They will find something to give it a different angle to justify any wrongdoing.
Yeah. We have somebody else that just joined. Hi, Angel.
Hi.
Just introduce yourself to everybody.
Hi, guys. I'm Angel.
Angel.
Nice to meet you.
Hey.
So we just discussing the book. We can just, just join in. And I'm gonna just repeat the questions since you just joined.
Okay.
And I'm so happy to see you guys. I really am. All right. So question number 7. The police, the media, and some of Star's friends refer to Khalil's background of drug and gang activity whenever the case is discussed. Is this fair and or relevant?
Okay. I definitely don't think it's fair. In some cases, I guess it's relevant as a part of them doing their job, doing the rundown, the background or whatnot. But it really didn't have too much significance as to, the reason they pulled them over. For like they were submitting any type of peculiar behavior or, there was nothing that he suspected suspicious, like I smell marijuana, whatever.
Right.
Especially for them being kids too, younger kids.
Yeah. Anybody else?
Yeah, I just think like Kizzy said, it's what happens even today. They want to vilify the victim. And I feel like if they're going to dig into his background, tell us about the cop's background too, because in a lot of cases, especially today, these cops have some not so good
Right.
backgrounds
Mm-hmm.
themselves that's kept from the public unless or until someone else goes digging. And I think, relevant maybe, but not so much in that moment, not so much per the case or why things went the way that they went. I mean, we all have a past. Nobody's perfect, so
Right.
I don't know.
I don't ever think, let me say, I don't ever think it's really relevant because, like the book said, a dead man didn't shoot itself. You know what I mean? It's like, because a lot of times at that moment, they won't know all that stuff about that person. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? It's like, all of these are based on assumptions based on what somebody looked like. And now we go back to systemic racism. You know what I mean? Like, well, he looked like this, he looked like that. We knew nothing about him. They didn't know anything about his past with drugs, nothing about him being in the gang. All they saw was a black young man. And for that's alone is enough to put any cop under scrutiny. It's like, because these are your preconceived notions. Nothing
Yeah.
that young man did or that young lady did. These are your preconceived notions that brought it in. So it's really, they bring it up, obviously, like you said, to vilify the victim. That's the only reason, because it's really not relevant to why you shot somebody that was unarmed and was not a threat. It's only because, again, we already know, because they want to make it seem like, well, they did sell drugs. It's like, what, did he see him selling drugs? No.
Right.
Okay, next question.
Right.
You know what I mean? Well, he was in a gang. Was he gang banging at the time? No. Next question. Like, so what are you even talking about?
Mm-hmm.
We
True.
already know the game that they play. Um, the game that they play is to, put all of their preconceived notions on young African Americans. And this is why we're in the situation we're in now, as far as cops and being murdered by them.
So, anybody else? All right. Next question. Does the role of social media in the book, both as a way of sharing information about instances of police brutality and or a personalized level in Star's life? Discuss the role of social media in the book, both as a way of sharing information about instances of police brutality and on a personal level in Star's life.
Repeat it again for me, huh?
Discuss the role of social media in the book. Hold on a minute. I
So
lost
is it
my.
like a two-part question?
Hold on a minute. It's right after that one. So when they say the social, let me repeat it again. Discuss the role of social media in the book, both as a way of sharing information about instances of police brutality and on a personal level in Star's life.
Well, for sure, that instance where I believe it was Tumblr,
Mm-hmm.
that she was on, and the one friend, her white friend, decided to unfollow her because of the subjects that she was addressing in her blog. That for sure kind of affected the whole dynamic of the little trio that they had. Instead of her being able to stomach it and just support, she completely unfollowed. And that's what we deal with now with our youth. Everything kind of boils down to social media. Whether someone likes you, whether someone unfollows you, they take it personal. And I mean, in that degree, I think she should have taken it personal and it should have been addressed. So it definitely had an effect on her personally, her life.
And I think everybody and people in general just struggle with who are you on social media versus who are you as a real person. And even though you like they know each other, and like she was saying, that broke their trio, they know each other, but it's just like it changed from what they're saying and what they feel behind the screen versus, do I agree with you and support you really in person and in life? And do you actually understand what I go through, and especially for Star, it's always an up and down battle for her because she lives two different lives.
Mm-hmm.
You have the respectable young lady that goes to school versus I want to blend in with my community, even though I already don't go to school here. So I'm having a hard time with staying connected with my community, but I know where I'm from. So those other people on the other side of her life get to see her on a different aspect. And unfortunately, because of what happened to her, her words change now. It's not like, hey, having a great day and, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
whatever. Now it has changed. And now you get to see who really is my friend and was these people a part of my trio for real? Or do they not really know me? So it definitely affected her personally. And, social media can always be taken out of context, depending on the groups of followers you're in, like, oh, I follow this group, so I better watch what I say, or I follow that group, I want to tend to that saying. So it's very powerful as far as her in person and versus social media with her friends. It definitely affected her on many levels.
So I just want to know about Haley. How y'all feel about her? Like, y'all think she said some racist things, or what
Man,
y'all
is
think
that even
about
a
her?
question? How we feel about Haley? She
And
sucks.
Yeah,
yeah,
for
Haley's
real.
definitely racist. She's
Because
There's no
definitely
other.
negative
There's
racist.
no other
comment.
opinion. There's no
And
other opinion.
ignorant.
She sucks.
And ignorant.
Because I
No.
think because Star, the the stuff she was posting, like she put up about Emmett Till or whatever, and Haley decided, I don't want to see that on my timeline, whatever, whatever. The person she portrayed herself to be when she was with them wasn't the person that was putting up what she was putting up on her social media. So that side of her, Haley didn't like it and couldn't understand, like, why do you care? You know what I'm saying? So I think that had a lot to do with it too, but she was so out of order and I would have just cut her off so fast.
Hey,
I did
okay.
not like her.
Can we
She's
not
the one you
forget?
want to pull through the pages and slap her.
You really did.
Okay.
Because guess what? That's fine with Star, but why she said ask the other friend if she ate a dog?
Oh yeah,
She
now
just was
yeah.
racist.
And they let her, they kind of laughed it off, but it's like some
Right?
stuff
She
you
was
can't
just
let
racist.
people get away with. Yeah.
Yeah. And
But do
and
you
I will
think it's
say that's
because she
true.
was so privileged? Do you think it's because she was
Yeah.
just so
Oh
privileged?
yeah,
She just
Most
wasn't exposed to
definitely.
anything?
absolutely.
And
But
blind.
so was the Myra. The other friend was also privileged, and so was
Yeah.
Chris. So you know what I mean? Yeah, they
Yeah,
don't have
Chris
access
was.
to the
Chris
information.
knew Fresh Prince. He knew every word of Fresh Prince. I love Chris.
Chris was down. So privilege isn't the only reason. Some people just it doesn't help not being exposed, but
Yeah. They're
you're
just
just racist. I mean,
racist,
you're just racist.
ignorant. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was awful.
And this was her best friend. Like, they've been so close forever. And this, it was an eye opener. Like, damn, who are you?
It's
You
a
know?
I mean, if you live long enough, some of the people who you
Yeah.
think is your friend and with you, you learn that you go down separate
They
paths
weren't
too.
with you at all. Yeah.
Right. So you gotta learn sometimes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And I feel like a lot of time with a lot of racists, they think that because they interact with a black person, that means that they're not racist.
Right.
But underlining you
I have
are
a black
racist
friend.
because of the comments and all of the stuff that you're saying. So, and then just how shocked she was every time she was called out. I'm like, no, your true colors are being revealed, as it happens a lot.
And,
Oh,
and
that
not
was
just
so
that.
long ago. Just get over it.
Right. She was like, "You're still on that? That was like 2 years ago. My God." Like, but this is the thing. It's a book. It's a book that I read, and it's like, it's about the new wave of racists because they do feel like if I interact with black people, if I married a black person, I'm definitely not racist. But that's not true because number one, you're not seeing their color. You're just, I don't see color. That's a problem. You need to see it. But also, you can't just be not racist. You need to be anti-racist. And what that term means is that you need to actively call out people who are racist. So you can't allow racism to happen. That's how you not be racist. You can't just say I'm not racist. You have to be anti-racist. So that means you are educating everybody who is racist and you are a supporter of the people of color. You know what I mean? So if people say that, it's like you are. If you're, again, it's one of those things. If you're not anti-racist, you're racist. If you allow racism to happen in your presence and you don't say anything, you're racist because you're allowing stereotypes to be perpetuated. So you're helping with racism. The only way it's going to be helped is if people of privilege speak up for us. That's the only way it's going to, not end, but acknowledgement, which is what we need, because they continue to ignore what's happening. They continue to, use their white privilege when they need to use it to educate everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else? Okay, next question. Discuss Seven's position in the family. What kind of relationship does Star have with Seven? And what kind of role does Seven's mom, Aisha, play in Star's family life?
I know you like that name, Seven, Tanisha, because that's Erykah Badu baby name. I know you like Seven.
I do like that name.
I know, like Erykah Badu baby name Seven. I know you thought that.
I love Seven.
The name or the character?
The character.
Oh, okay.
The character overall, the role that he played with just being a big brother. No matter who, the parents were, he was a big brother to everyone. He was looking out. When you talk about blended families, the dynamic is always, well, I'm not going to say it's always, but there is some weirdness that comes with it because you have so many different people. You're blending in the family. But to be able to see him come in with the blendedness and just play his role, play his part, and to have his sisters back like he did and understand and try and look out, that was just amazing to see as a whole, especially eventually finding out how he came about. That was crazy and intense. So being able that he didn't see it, he just saw family.
Mm-hmm.
It was just amazing.
Yeah.
I think Seven represented like their little truce flag, him being there, period, kind of kept the peace a little bit, it kept a nice divided instead of them being like torn. I feel like Seven was like that little bridge for them. He didn't choose a side. He was there for his family, period, his sister, his brothers on both sides. And, he was good. And of course, his name, Seven, like you guys said.
I think it was easier for him to be okay with both sides. The sisters, I think they had to get there because it was always my brother, or why is she saying my brother? He's my brother too, So the sisters, they had to work on getting there and making it better. But Seven was good all the way around with them and didn't choose between like one side was better than the other.
Right, because I hated well, I ain't gonna say I hate, but I didn't like the mother's character because she just seemed like their little family was, she was just so,
You mean, I'm sorry, do you mean Seven? Seven mother? I just want to be clear.
Yeah,
Seven's mother.
Aisha, okay. I just want to make sure.
Yeah. She only looked out for him like one time when after he got the beat down or something, and she let him leave without the dad or
the guy
catching him. But other than that, I really didn't like her. She was just like
Do
a bitter
you
baby
think
mama.
she only looked out for him one time because that even had to be brought to his attention, right? Maybe she had looked out for him before, but it went over his head because even in that moment, she was looking out for him, but he didn't realize it until someone told him, look, this is what she's doing. And she paid for it. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes parents, we as parents, I know myself, we can do things for our kids and they don't get it. Like they seem to not appreciate it or know what it is exactly. So maybe it's not the one time. Maybe she has looked out for him before and he didn't get it, or he didn't, maybe he couldn't appreciate it because he didn't get it.
I think she has. Even when she put him out, she could have fought for him to stay, and she just took his stuff to his daddy. I think she knew. And even when she came to the birthday party, she like, you didn't invite me to the birthday party. Like even like hardcore mamas, even if they don't tell you, I do think she looked out for him. I think she took some extra beatings for him.
Yeah. Most definitely.
Yeah.
It's not always like surface stuff. Sometimes you
Mm-hmm.
do have to look to see exactly what it is, or it has to be
Yeah.
brought to your attention.
I noticed when watching the movie, um the beat down was um King had beat down 7 in the movie, but in the book, Devontae got beat down.
Devontae, right.
So that was a little different. Right. He got beat down. But I noticed that was different. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, Because I'm like, where Devontae at? But it was like the same type of little scenario or whatever. But yeah, I did like 7. He was a big brother that you would definitely want to have. And then, when their dad was kind of like, at the store or whatever, he would step in and try to play dad, or be the big, I don't know, I guess, I know Star didn't like it. She was like, he always want to act like he daddy when when he gone or whatever. So she, of course she didn't like that because that's like their brother, sister kind of, whatever, disagreement or whatever, she don't want nobody, like you ain't daddy. I don't know why big the older siblings always trying to act like they want to run something, even though they are the parental person at that time in
Because
the
their
house.
mom and daddy get on them if they don't. Like you ain't watch
Yeah,
out for your little brother, sister. They
true,
got to be responsible.
true.
So yeah, that's what it is. I mean,
They next in line.
Yeah.
so they just trying to keep, they just trying to keep they bargaining with the parents, whether the little siblings like it or not, because they know
Yeah.
they gonna get it, not the little sibling.
Yeah. I guess I was the baby, so I had that kind of going on.
Right on the nose. That's exactly what.
But yeah, 7, he was great. He was a great brother. I definitely agree with that. I'd also like how he stepped in when Star was fighting Haley. He
Oh
came in and
yeah,
tried to knock her, try to fight with Haley's brother.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, that he came out of nowhere.
Through them fops.
Definitely. And a dad, every time he knew there was a fight, he was like, "What?" Then the mama looked at him like, "Oh, why'd you do that? That was wrong, son." It was like, it was so funny, but they was a cute little family. I do like that.
Yeah.
All right. So next question: how is Aisha portrayed at the beginning of the story when we meet her at Khalil's funeral? And how does the way she is portrayed change over the course of the book? I'll read it again. How is Aisha portrayed at the beginning of the story when we meet her at Khalil's funeral? And how does the way she is portrayed change over the course of the book?
Which was kind of touched on a little bit, but
Yeah, pretty much. I
mm-hmm.
mean, I feel like, Aisha, she I don't know. She was with King, you know what I mean, and had a son, of course, 7. And she just pretty much, I feel like she taught him what she knew, you know what I mean? That was her world. She loved King, although he did, he was the big drug gangbanger, King Lord or whatever. And, I feel like she had a little issue with, of course, how he was being treated at his household. Because also in the movie when they was at the funeral, and she was calling his name, I thought that was hilarious. In the middle of the funeral, like 7.
Right.
I mean, that's so fucking embarrassing. I mean, he was in the front of the church, like in the second row. She
Like,
all
come
the way
on.
in the back with King. 7.
Right. Come
Oh,
on.
you ain't
Come
gonna
on.
come
Come
back
on.
here with us? I thought that was so hilarious. And the Star mother was like, just going back there with your mama, for real. And then dude was like, well, he didn't want to go back there. Yeah, but she's hollering in the church. I mean, she didn't care. I thought that was hilarious, But he went on and did what his mama said. He went on back there with his, with Aisha or whatever. Like, let me go on back there because she ain't gonna stop hollering, clearly. But yeah, Aisha, she had some ghetto ways though, straight up. She
Yeah, I
did.
think that's
Very.
how she was portrayed. Ghetto. She's
Well,
of the hood that she's from. I thought they
Oh,
portrayed her like kind of like she didn't care or like she was choosing King over her son. But I think to me in the end, it proved that, okay, yeah, she's still ghetto, but she actually do care about her son too and was
Yeah.
looking out
Oh
for
yeah.
his best interest in her
Yeah.
own way.
Yeah. Definitely. She took a lot of beatings for real for him.
Yeah.
She was. And I think that church was like an example of that. Like, hey, like, you just don't know what I go through. You still mine. Like, you over there with your little want to be perfect family, whatever. I understand.
Right.
They know all kind of
Uh-huh.
stuff is great and they trying to move in a different light, but I'm still here. So, hello.
Right. You better recognize I'm
And
your mama.
we have to keep in mind too that when you know better, you do better. So she did. I feel like she did the best she could, and
Yeah.
honestly, that's just all any parent does.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's like, of course you got some, of course you have some, you can't say 100% of everybody, but I'm gonna say for the most part, most parents want the best for their kids. The question is, how do they show that? And that goes with how they were raised and, you know, their own
Well, they
trauma.
know
You know what I
how.
mean? And that's
Yeah.
not an excuse by any means, but the fact is, your trauma continues on to your children. You may want the best, but a lot of times you literally don't have the resources. And when I say resources, I don't mean like physical resources. I mean, you don't have the mental and emotional intelligence and the bandwidth to do better for your kids. But, you know, I feel like she did want better. And that last example was when she, you know, tried to, you know, get him out. And that was, you know, a good point out saying that he probably didn't recognize all the good she's done. Like the thing is, you know, when it comes to books and writers, we have to always ask ourselves, can we trust the characters? Because sometimes it's about perspective. His perspective was, my mama never look out for me. And I think we know that can't be possible. That's not true.
Not true. Yeah.
Yeah, because he went hard on her at the barbecue.
Yeah, right. Like, that's what I'm saying.
He
Like,
went hard. He went ham on her.
Yeah. You know, because again, I mean, we want our parents to behave a certain way, but we have to know they're not perfect. No one is, you know. So
Yeah.
a lot of times you just have to play the hand that you was dealt, and that's the mama he was dealt.
Yeah.
You know.
True that. All right. Question number 11. Discuss how the book references MLK, Malcolm X, and the Black Panthers. How does these references to leaders, groups that espouse different form of activism by any means necessary? I'm going to read it again. Discuss how the book references MLK, Malcolm X, and the Black Panthers. How does these references to leaders, groups that espouse different forms of activism, nonviolent versus by any means necessary, play out in the story, especially after the decision is announced?
They kind of show you different ways, you know, of course you can handle it, just like we have in today's world. Like you said, nonviolent versus being violent. And, you know, towards the end, we got to see that they did everything they could do. They went to the police. They tried to do peaceful protests. They made T-shirts. They tried to disguise stars so she wouldn't be put out. And at that point, there was options. So then it turns into any means necessary now because nothing's working in their opinion. Nobody's hearing us. We still not getting the results that we want. And then most importantly, they're hurting. Everybody's still hurting. So they reference those awful, you know, African-American people that we have to show different ways they just try to approach it with and to use them, in my opinion, or just philosophize what they, you know, actually modeled or use techniques, but it results to any means necessary.
I think it continues to be a cycle. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, you're good. And I was just saying, just trying to be resilient, you know, just trying to stand in there and just hang in there.
But it's definitely a cycle, and at one point it kind of looked like the results are the same. Like no matter what you do, no matter what part of history we are in, the results still end up the same way. Our lives are less. That's kind of what is shown. It doesn't matter if Martin Luther King was peaceful. The results were the same. Malcolm X's, his was not. It was the same. So it was like for Star, it's like you're telling me this, but no matter what, these people aren't here because of the paths they chose, whether they were good or bad.
True. Anybody else? Okay. All right, number 12. Discuss the character of Chris, Star's white boyfriend. How does his presence in her life impact her family's relationship? Discuss the character of Chris, Star's white boyfriend. How does his presence in her life impact her family's relationships?
Well, everybody knew except the dad, right? So
Mhm.
Yeah.
everybody was okay with it except for him. And when he found out, he was just like, why nobody ever said anything? But I guess eventually he came around.
Yeah, the dad
Um,
came around towards the end. I think that the Chris wasn't the dad couldn't relate to Chris when he found out like why would you choose him? Like he can't relate to nothing that we're going through or have ever been through or whatever. But over time, um, I think he grew respect for him for whenever they were trekking through the hood, the car broke down and Chris was right there with her and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, they created a bond later on down the line, but in the beginning I just feel like the dad was like, why him? Like he's not from here. He's not from where we're from. So what was relatable about it? But he was there in the dad. I think he grew a respect for him at the end
Yeah.
or towards the end.
I think he grew respect, like she said too, eventually. But just looking at him firsthand, you a white boy.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, Dad, forgetting that you sent your baby girl to a white school.
Exactly.
A privileged
mhm,
white
Exactly.
boy at that.
Yeah,
right. And it was one other black boy.
right.
Just one.
Yeah.
Not very good odds.
Yeah, I had to come to grips with that. Like, okay, well, let me really check him out in
Mhm.
a little bit more depth why she chose him because she didn't bring nobody from the hood home.
Yeah,
So
that's true. So
she brought him home, and like he said, a white wigger. I think he said he represented.
yeah, now the Devontae called him a wigger, I think.
Oh, that okay. I'm like,
Yeah,
somebody,
Devontae said he a wigger. He's like, he's not. And he's like, he wear Jordans, so that was that conversation.
yeah,
I loved Chris. I really did. And I'm not even gonna get into the dating you know, other race conversation. But definitely when she was like she was dating a Bible, I was like, I was like, okay, but as he was introduced and the kind of person he was, I was like, okay, I can see it. I can see why she liked him. Again, they're kids. We're not talking about forever. We don't know what's gonna happen. And he seemed to care about her. Like I
Yeah.
said, and then I think he, kind of they accepted him, his whole family, Seven, her little brother, when he decided to stay, when they was like, hey, we about to do this, it's gonna go down. Do you want me to take you home back to Crackerville? He's like, no, I'm riding. You know what I mean? So I think that really was the turning point because that's when they start asking him questions about, black like potato salad and macaroni and cheese, like, seeing like, are you going to fit in here? So I felt like that was the turning point because they were trying to find a way for him to be a part of everything. Like, you know what? You're not just a regular white boy. He said, matter of fact, Devontae said you light skinned. That's like the black people. That's like inviting you to the barbecue. We say you light skinned, you in. So yeah, I thought definitely I think that's important because just how white people marginalize us based on what they think they know about us. We do the same thing, you know what I mean? So I felt like they didn't get to know Chris. He was just a white boy, but getting to know him is like, okay, he's different, just like all of us are different. And you can't know you can't know all of us just because you know one. It's
Right.
reversed. It's the same thing. You know what I mean? And they got to know him. It's like, hey, wait a minute, you pretty cool. You not a cool white
Yeah.
boy. You a cool person. So I thought
right.
that.
I thought that he really cared too because he had plenty of chances out. You know what I'm saying? Because he could have just been like, forget it. I'm not going to deal with it. She's tripping about this, that, or the other. But he wanted to know what's happening, what's going on, what did I
Great
do
point.
wrong? Like, so he was in it. He cared for her. That's what I thought. So
Mm-hmm. That's
yeah,
a great point. Yeah, he
I would
definitely could have been. He could have got little a few times. Like you tripping? I'm 16. I'm too
yeah,
young for this.
right. I would love to
Also,
know because obviously his parents showed him different, compared to Haley and everybody else that go to the school.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
I think the author also wanted to show us that they not all the same. Like how Haley was extreme, like, no, you can't throw a whole race away. So I think it was a nice balance. Like, well, we have Haley, but we also have Chris, you know, so it's good. It's good and bad in everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
True that. How does the heroin addiction of Brenda, Khalil's mother, impact the story? Discuss the roles of drugs in Star's neighborhood.
Kind of was heartbreaking because it kind of is what led to Khalil going down the path to save her. You know, like instead of her being able to save her son, like ultimately her addiction cost him his life.
Basically.
Yeah.
He became a statistic too.
Mm-hmm.
A statistic of their neighborhood. His mom along with him as well. And everybody else, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
And
she has stole drugs from King,
Mm-hmm.
and he was trying to pay the debt, trying to get the money back.
the mama stole drugs, right? Like Brenda
Mm-hmm.
stole drugs.
Brenda.
Okay. The next part of the question was like, how does drugs, you know, as far as in a neighborhood, and it just goes to show how it's that cycle we talked about, how Devontae didn't think he had a choice. It's like, what else can I do? You know what I mean? And it's like, so that's the only way I could get my family out. It's the only way I could get out. And I think a lot of people feel like that, you know what I mean? Because it's not a lot of, you know, investments in the neighborhoods. It's, you know, not a lot of opportunities. I mean, it's no other way to say that. That is, again, the systemic racism we talked about. So, you know, I think it just goes to show how, you know, I think we know how they were brought in to destroy us, because again, we don't have access to planes. We don't have access to any of these things that bring the drugs in. So they're dumped into our communities to destroy us, but we're also playing right into it by selling it. So again, it's a vicious cycle.
It is.
Yeah.
All right. Anybody else?
Oh, I just have to ask a question just about that. Anybody watch Snowfall? Anybody watch that?
I did.
Yeah. Okay, I just want to recommend it to you guys. It's just about how, you know, Rocks was first brought into the neighborhood and how it really brought down the Black community. It's like, it's such a good show. It's on its third season. So I just want to put that out there. Watch it. It definitely
I started it, but I didn't get into it.
Really? You know what? I might have felt that way too. I think I might have, but I stuck with it. I think it's a good payoff.
Yeah,
it really just, yeah.
I think it starts off slow.
And I think it does too. But I think, matter of fact, I started watching beginning of the pandemic. It wasn't nothing to do. I stuck with it. You know what I'm saying? Like, what else I'm gonna do? I'm gonna keep watching it. So I think if I had been watching it and it wasn't, you know, we wasn't quarantined, maybe I wouldn't have stuck with it. But that's actually how I finished it, because I think it did start off slow, but it was like, what else am I gonna do? So I think try it again. I think it's
good. It's worth it. John said, no, it's worth it.
And Snowfall, it's on Hulu, right?
I think it's FX. But don't quote me.
It's on FX too. It's on FX too, but they can watch Hulu.
Oh, okay. Yep. All right, cool. Yeah.
You can watch on Hulu.
Okay. All right. Anybody else have anything to share? All right. Next question. What is the function of gang life in Star's neighborhood? Why are kids drawn to gang life? Well, we definitely know gang life. You know, they say they family, and like Khalil said, they brought. What's it that
Devontae.
He was like, you know, we had none. They brought us food and stuff. You know, made sure we were straight. You know, so I see, you know, more and more of why people, you know, run towards the game when you don't have no one at home to provide those things for you. You know.
I think it came back to a point Tabitha made earlier about not having a connection in our communities, like not helping each other. I think that plays a role too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, if a kid doesn't feel love from anywhere else, you know, like, and not just that, like, when I worked at Urban Prep, one of my favorite students, got expelled for bringing a gun to school. And the thing is, he had told me that on his way to school, the gangs was always trying to recruit him. You know what I mean? And it was like, he felt like it was the only way he could protect himself, literally, like, and his little brother. But that's the thing. It's like a lot of times gangs it's like you have to be strong to resist the gang. And it's like, if one gang after you and another one offering you shelter, it's like, well, I got to go with somebody. You know what I mean? It's the same mentality in jail. You got to ride with some group if you want to survive. So a lot of times that'd be what it is. I mean, it's the only sense of family. You know, it keep money in your pockets. And honestly, a lot of times it's rival gangs. You got to ride with one or the other. At least that's their mentality if they want to survive.
I agree. I think it's so not with that generation of just people in this Stars neighborhood, so hard to not choose a side. Some of them fall victim of you choosing the side. Some of them are, I love my neighborhood, right? You ever came from somewhere like, that's my hood, like I love that area, you know, west side, north side, or whatever, and they feel like I love this area so much, I'm gonna join the gang. Could be, you know, or also like you said, just feeling that love of family, somewhere where you belong. And then now that there's so much bullying and everything else that go on and pressure, just feeling like you're not alone and you belong to somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, definitely. All right. What role does guns play in the story? How do you feel about that?
Mm.
Well, remember when they came and shot through the window? You know, the daddy, you know, he went and got his piece, you know, to protect his family.
He did that a couple times.
Oh.
I'm just saying he did. When they came in the store, he grabbed his piece and he was like, he was a felon. He was like, and he's not supposed to carry and conceal. He's like, but technically I'm not carrying because I keep it at my store.
True.
Which is it's still carry, but that's the technicality. You still carry it. You're gonna say, well, I leave it at the stove, so I don't carry. He was funny.
Yeah, he was. He was definitely funny. But I like how militant he was too, you know. He was a good dude.
He was.
If that meant anything.
I'd be interested if somebody else because I don't know if I feel like guns played a huge role. I could be missing something though, and maybe somebody can enlighten me. But I don't feel like. I mean, I do. I mean, it happened. It was shooting, but I don't know if I feel like it was symbolic as much as drugs was necessarily. But I could be missing something.
Anybody?
Somebody have any interpretation of that? I'd be interested in listening.
Well, at the end of the movie, the little boy, I forgot his name, he felt that he had to grab the gun to protect his family. So it's just like a repeat cycle. So
okay,
that's the way I see it.
The little brother, you mean?
Yeah, for Connie.
Okay, I didn't see the movie. That's interesting.
Yeah, at the end, that was a powerful scene there.
That's interesting.
Very powerful.
I feel like the gun kind of just, it wasn't presented like alarming, right? It just kind of seemed like normal, like a part of what was going on, you know? It was there, whether it was in a bad way or protection or, you know, whatever, it was there. And like you said, the dad, he came up with great ways and excuses why he got one, you know, covered from that life of always toting one. But the gun is just there, like people dying from being shot, people carrying one, people grabbing one, people having to hold one. It's definitely significant, but it didn't seem like an alarm.
And that's alarming. That's the alarming part.
And that's
it
why
didn't seem alarming.
With the end and even with the movie too, I feel like that's why they made the little boy grab the gun to make it more alarming. Because before it was presented like it's just a part of something, like it's just in the kitchen, you know, like it's a knife, it's here. But I feel like at the end they made it be bold, like this is an issue, like this is the problem. Now that you see the baby with it, do you feel alarmed now? You know what I mean? Rather than like somebody else with it, oh, I got it for protection, or oh, that's so sad they got shot by somebody else's gun. But the baby, it could be anything. He can hurt himself, he can hurt someone else, he can ruin his future, he can ruin his life. It's so much. And to me, that's what made it seem like, bam, okay, now we have an issue with the gun. Before it was just like, oh, it's just there, it's normal.
Yeah. Even when Devontae came to the Uncle Carlos' house, he had a gun in his bag. You know, it wasn't like you said, it wasn't alarming then. You know, he was just like, ain't no gun gonna be in my house. You know, he just told him. But
and even if someone's seen them with a gun, it was like, you know, oh hey, it's okay, you know, or you know, I just got it, or change the subject, you know,
right?
It's like you see it, but it's nothing.
Yeah, that ending scene was very powerful when he had it pointed at the police. Well, he had it pointed at King, and the police pointed the gun at him. You know, that was like, wow, major, major scene. All right, number 16. Why does Star keep her role as a witness a secret for so long, and how and why did she come to the decision to finally use her voice? Why does Star keep her role as a witness a secret for so long? And how and why does she come to the decision to finally use her voice?
I think she didn't want the kids where she went to school at to find out about where she lived, the type of area, her neighborhood, this, that, and the other. And then I think she didn't want the kids from her neighborhood to be judgy towards her either. So I think she kept it a secret for so long because she had two sides she's really trying to hide from,
Mm-hmm.
pretty much. And I think when she finally decided to make her voice heard, it was like a moment where she felt like she had to, like, this is just what it is. I need to do what I need to do because she wants to not have Khalil, um, you know, them making him look like such a bad guy in this whole situation. So
Mm-hmm.
when everything wasn't looking so good, she felt like she had to stand up, speak out, and make it known that this is what happened, this is how it happened. And like Khalil didn't do anything to provoke his own killing. And the cop isn't the cop he's trying to portray himself to be.
Mhm.
Um,
Also, I think it was the unknown too. She didn't know what could happen when it was revealed. The people in the neighborhood could be after her. You know what I mean? You know how people twist things online. They make it seem like she did something wrong. I think it was the biggest thing is she know what could happen, but she knew it would be something, and that it would be, it would not, it would reveal a lot. It would expose her in a way. It would expose her family, and I think that that unknown portion is what made her so hesitant. But then, of course, we know that her sister made her feel badly because, like she said, it had been you, Khalil would have been speaking out for you, and you're being silent, and that's what made her, start starting out on her blog, the Kahil I knew, and then eventually using her voice. But yeah, I think she was just afraid because she seen what kind of things happen to witnesses and people. The cops could be after you. It's like at that point, everybody an enemy, and she just didn't want to risk that. Like you don't know who to trust at that point.
that's true.
Yeah. And I think she's also trying to protect her family. You know, even though these
Mm-hmm.
children, they still feel like I have to protect my people. And especially at that age, it's so, teenager going to a young adult is so pressuring because it's like, am I saying the right thing? Am I doing the wrong thing? And it's not just her consequences. Everybody know it's her family's consequence ultimately. And then again, he has the both side thing where she goes to the prep school versus in the neighborhood. So she gets
Mm-hmm.
both sides. And I
And
think
it did affect the family too, because remember when the cops, how they like belittle her dad, put him down, make him get on the ground and all this and that, just because like they didn't really have a reason to do it, but they did it because they knew she is the witness,
witness.
pretty much.
And then when King found out, then they told the neighborhood,
Yeah,
just became, well, now you can't care because everyone's finding out and it's about to explode in her anyway.
yeah,
With like we talking about social media, people finding out, the police treating them different. She feels like everyone's looking, like she got to watch her back, and it was like, what's the point of being secretive now? It's just coming out.
but I have a question too about the social media part of it, because when she did the Khalil I knew on Tumblr, she created a new Tumblr for that, right? And
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
why?
I think she must have because they didn't. Her friends Haley, and Maya didn't know. They
They didn't
found out
Right. So
after something else. They paired a picture with her birthday party with a mug shot of Kahil, and that's how they found out. So she
yeah,
must have started a new Tumblr.
she did, and I was just wondering for me, like, why start a whole new Tumblr for that? Because we already know Haley stopped following her on her original Tumblr because of the picture she was picture she posted of Emmett Till. So who
She didn't want
cares?
nobody to know though. She didn't
Like,
want Chris to know, Chris or
yeah,
Maya. Nobody.
yeah. So she started a whole new Tumblr to do the Khalil I knew. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I like that she did it. So those that, everybody's watching the news and everything, they can, if they get a hold of it, they can find out who Khalil was, how he was, the type of things he was into and everything. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yeah. I mean, it's and it said it was reblogged hundreds of times, so people are aware.
yeah.
But you feel like that it wasn't you that was like weak of her.
I don't know if I want to say weak, but I just think not necessary. Um,
Okay. Mm-hmm.
yeah,
But
I don't
I see
know.
what you mean. But that's another thing I love about this book too. They were real people. We're flawed. We do things that don't make sense. We do things that are
Yeah.
confused. You know what I mean? So it wasn't just a book of perfect people or bad people,
Oh
like
yeah.
real people.
Like
That's
real life people.
exactly. And people that do a lot. And we complicated people, you know, can't be
Yeah.
fit into a box. So I did enjoy that.
All right. I also want to speak about Star. She saw Natasha get killed at 10, and I was just thinking, like, 10 years old, like, her friend was killed in front of her, you know, while they was playing rope or in the water hose or whatever
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
by
The drive by.
a drive-by shooter. And then 16, your best friend died, you know, that is just like trauma in itself.
Traumatized.
It's like just to think about those ages. I mean, we definitely know that they're kids, but for her to have to endure that,
That's a lot.
and the scene when the father got what tightened up by the police, when they were talking or whatever, and
Hmm.
outside the store, and the
Hmm.
police came, like, get on the ground. They all had to see that. It's like, now y'all belittling the father. you know it was a lot to see. A lot for Star, a lot for the kids. It was just like, man, it's messed up. But like you say, it's real life.
Yeah.
you know it's just what happens, definitely. So, all right, next question. Why do you think this book is winning lots of awards and getting so much attention?
I think because it's real. Like, it's stuff that's happening even today. A lot of people can relate. And I think that's the biggest part of it.
Yes, the police brutality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the book. I love the movie. I can personally relate in so many ways. I have teenagers that are coming up, a young black man and a young black woman, and they are starting to be voicing and their opinion. And my kids go to prep academy versus where we live, so I can totally understand and relate. And then even my own circumstances, and just everybody is going through it one way or another. It doesn't even matter anymore if you live in a hood or you live in a good neighborhood. It's affecting everybody on a whole different level. It's
Mm-hmm.
black and white,
Mm-hmm.
and then now we're at a time we're all trying to, I mean, in my opinion, we're all trying our best to understand each other in a certain form if we can, because we're at a time where everyone wants to be heard, right? We all
Mm-hmm.
heard in some form or level. And some people, like we're talking about, are blind to the fact of what's going on. Just like I'm sure we're blind to some of the things that they may endure or what's going on. But it's so powerful now because it's just reaching a different level, and it is right at our front door.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. And like she said, at the end of the book, she was like, it's not just Khalil. It's all of the ones who
Oh
died
yeah.
from
She
being
named them.
unarmed.
Yeah.
And it's a list that goes on and on. That was really powerful too. At the end, I really thought, like, wow, it's not just about this one person here. This
Yeah.
is so much bigger. It's global. Um, all right. What other current media, movies, books are playing out similar themes? And what role can these media portrayals play in the evolution of our culture? What other current media, movies, books, TVs are playing out similar themes? And what role? And what role can these media portrayals play in the evolution of our culture?
Um, well, I know one that came out. And matter of fact, I mean, if you guys look on Netflix with the rebirth of the Black Lives Movement, they had a bunch of things that are similar theme. If
Yeah.
you look, like all kind of movies that come up.
On
One
Netflix?
was when, huh?
On Netflix?
On
Yeah.
Netflix, yeah. Like it was
Black,
literally called, I think it's called Black Lives Movement, if I'm not mistaken.
Black
Black Lives Matter. Black Lives
BLM,
Matter.
BLM.
Okay. So one of them is When They See Us. And it's the same thing. It's the Central Park Five. They're accused of raping a white woman, unfairly accused. But I feel like, I mean, it's, you know, I think the rebirth of the Black Lives Movement, I think ironically, it kind of, the pandemic gave it new life, because I feel like for the first time, people were really listening. People that are exposed to, you know, that are exposed to white privilege and don't realize it, like, because nobody took a breath to just be still. And when people did, it's like, you know, they were being educated on our history. Many of the people I know, many of people that, you know, I'm friendly with, had no idea about what's happened to us historically. And because of the pandemic, they actually read things. You know what I mean? Like it really truly gave it legs. Because I know myself, I didn't learn Black history until I went to college, which is insane. It should be criminal, the things that they teach us in grammar school and high school, but that's a whole nother conversation. But you know, I feel like media played a huge role in it because so many things were being shared. And all I kept seeing my white friends say, I didn't know. You know what I mean? It's like because they actually, you say, yeah, I didn't, I'm sorry. I didn't know. Like, and I said, you know, I mean, and then of course, more people went to protest than ever because there wasn't anything else to do. What else you gonna do? Everything closed. So they're gonna go to protest. So it started, you know, I feel like because of what was happening in the world, but I mean, it was a great thing because it gave it the recognition it needed, you know, and obviously it has a long way to go, but companies were recognizing, you know what I mean? Like it grew, you know, and the thing is too, it's been happening. It's not new. So you have to ask yourself, well, why did it get so much notice this time? And I really believe that it was social media and the pandemic. I believe those factors was a huge reason why it grew so, you know, so exponentially.
And a lot of the changes we see too, because you see now you got first Black person doing this, the first Black person doing that, and companies, even like Netflix and all these streaming services, now they have a section for Black, the Black Lives Matter or the Black movies if you want to go back and watch. And I'm looking and I'm seeing all this and I'm thinking it's a good thing, but I'm also wondering if it's just for this moment. Like once the pandemic is over, all of this stuff, you're not going to hear about it anymore. It's going to go away and things are going to go back to what they were. So I'm just
that's been my same fear too. Because it's like, and so that's why every now and then I put up a post, Black lives still matter. You know what I mean? Because just in case you forget, it still matter because that's the thing. I am, because it's like, you know, companies, you know, releasing slogans, Nike, we stand with Black lives, all of these wonderful things.
Right.
But at the same time, it's just a band-aid on the bullet wound. Because it's like, if you really, Nike, if you really want to help, put some Black people on your board. I see all white men. If you really want to help from within. Don't just change your slogan to Nike stands with Black people. I'm going to need you to put some of us on that board. And that's how you change systems within. You change the system racing within a system, not band-aid on a bullet wound. So it's my fear too.
How everybody, how Colin Kaepernick was so villainized for taking the knee, taking the bow, and now you got everybody want to take a knee and wearing the kente cloth and all of this, and that's like it's so fake to me because y'all did not or could not for the life of you guys, you couldn't understand why Colin Kaepernick did this. Now all of a sudden you got chief of police here, this white man taking a knee or whatever, and presidents or politicians, everybody want to take a knee, and it's like a gag for me because I just don't think it's real, and I just think it's for attention right now. But Whatever.
It could be. No, you're right. It could be for the moment. Only thing we can do is try to capitalize on it now. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Like they're supposed to be giving funding. They're supposed to be helping things in the neighborhood. Those things need to take place, and then it'll grow a momentum of its own. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I said, it is temporary and it is for show, but we need to capitalize off of that.
Eat your food
Yeah.
first.
Make it do what it do right now.
Exactly. Exactly.
Anybody else have anything to share about the book? Anything?
Yeah, so back in the book, when was that Devontae that went into the store? I don't remember who it was, but the star and her dad, they were closing up. He knocked on the door, and they're closed, so they
Yeah.
let him in, and he's stalling out, and they finally got it out of him. Okay, somebody's after him, whatever. So we've mentioned that like our neighbors now are close. You barely even speak to your neighbors now. So he made it known while he's stalling, he's scared somebody's after him, and how the dad says, "Well, okay, you can come home with me." Like, who's doing that these days? You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Nobody is doing that now, and people are afraid to because you brought him home knowing he has trouble after him. So if you're bringing him home, you're bringing that trouble may follow him. So it's still just a question of mind, like, um, how can we get any change for our neighborhoods and the things that's happening? Because nobody's doing that, not that I know of or that I'm
Mm-mm.
aware of.
No. And he did it because he was still king. He still had pull. You know what I mean? Had
Yeah,
it been anybody else, it had to been anybody else, they had blown his head off. You know what I mean? Like honestly, the king had appreciation. He took that bid for him, and he
yeah,
still had pull in the neighborhood. You know what I mean? Because had it been anybody else, I think because King knew that he was hiding the boy. He knew it.
yeah,
I feel like had it been anybody else, it wouldn't have gone that peacefully. And he still took him and beat him up. But
yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't.
He
I
didn't
think
kill
people
him.
too afraid. People too afraid. I'm not gonna bring you in my family and people after you. Like nobody's risking themselves like that.
Mhm.
It's definitely rare. And I don't live in the Illinois area anymore. I returned back home, but I live in Indianapolis. And I can say that I'm grateful that there is some men that I know that are trying to do that. But just like you all touched on, it is more or less they only able to do it because somebody else put it in them. They learned their lesson, but because they had their taste in the street, so they're not afraid to get involved.
Okay.
And just like you said, you don't want to always be that way, but this so happened it's the same like you guys referring to, which is why it's happening because they've had their taste in the streets. They're able to get their point across and be respected. But at the same time, they still deal with police brutality and everything else, but still trying to prove themselves. But they are very active with the men that is left, with the young boys and even the young girls, before they stray away. But the program, if you want to look at it, it's on Facebook. It's called Before You Fall.
Okay. Before you fall.
It's a definite movement. And they were also studying our same book too, which is why I brought it up.
Really?
They were mentoring to the young men. My son is a volunteer of the group, but they are one of the group that are taking on the violent children or the children that don't have anyone or something that someone did not want. And they operate like that, and they own 3 homes, so they're able to bring in the young men and young girls that don't have anywhere to go. But like you said, just sometimes it takes someone that has had experience, and we just lucky enough to kind of watch it. But it's cool to watch them in action, to see some type of difference rather than violence and stuff like that.
Because I do
I
think
looked
that
up
it
before
just,
you fall. I didn't see it. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's
sorry.
called Before You Fall.
Yeah, I looked it
Is
up
the
on
program.
Facebook. I didn't see it. The group.
Look up Shane Shepherd. Maybe
Okay.
it's under his name, Shane Shepherd.
How you spell it?
Shepherd, SHEPHERD, and then Shane, SHANE.
Okay.
But
African
we
Girl.
all would love to see more. And like you said, like she was saying, what would it take, you know, for
Just
something
somebody
different?
to care, right? I think if they know somebody actually cares and want to see them do better, they may want better for themselves.
Mm-hmm. And also too, I mean, sometimes you could just, even if it's not huge, like in my old school, I started a mentor group called LMG, Ladies Mentoring Group. And it was just because we see girls in the hallway that's being disrespected and fast, letting boys call them bees, grab them by their neck. Like it's very ugly culture. So me and the other women of color all took on one girl like as a mentor, and you know they started checking each other, like not acting like that in the hallway. And it's a small change, but it was a change. And you know, the principal sponsored a dinner for us to take the kids out with the boy mentoring group. And they went out and had like respectful conversations with each other, no cell phone. They got like a 4-course meal. And they were just so amazed by that. Like, wow, they go to this nice restaurant. And a lot of times you don't realize how much you can touch a kid by just that little small act of service. You know what I'm saying? And it was small, but it's like a lot of them had never been to a nice restaurant before. A lot of them hadn't gone and, you know, like we did like a 4-week program where we taught them how to dress. We gave them a program. Every week we did a new lesson. Like, this is how you dress when you go out. This is conversations you should have. You know, and again, I still keep in contact with them. I'm not at that school anymore, but little things like that, you know, if, you know, people that have gotten out, you know, kind of reaching back, it just goes a long way.
Yeah, they do have a program like that at my school. They call it Goddess. I'm not a part of it. I've helped them out with some of their events where they try to, earn money to help get the girls supplies and stuff. But they do have a goddess program for the girls, certain age groups or grade groups. And then the men, a couple of the guys at the school have a mentoring program for the guys that they work with as well. That's one thing I do like about the school where I work because they do try to do these type of things with the kids. Even on, I think it's Tuesdays, they have a bow tie Tuesdays where all the boys have to come in with a
Yeah,
button
we
up
had
on
something
and
like
wear
that.
like, wear their little bow tie and everything. And I think it's nice,
It is.
And if
Mm-hmm.
they don't have the ties, they'll get them one.
Yeah,
So I think
that's
it's
nice.
nice.
It
Yeah.
is.
That's very nice.
Mm-hmm.
Because some people don't even get a chance to put on, like you said, that dressy stuff or
Yeah.
have
Yeah,
a reason to even do it. So it helps
exactly.
for them to get exposed to it before something happening. You have to do it, and it's like, oh, I'm not
Mm-hmm.
gonna do it because I don't even have idea.
Precisely.
Yeah. Anybody else have anything to share? No. Okay.
Enjoyed the book. I'm gonna watch the movie now.
Yeah, me too.
Watch the movie,
Yeah.
yeah. Watch the movie.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
watch the movie.
I watched it this morning. I was like trying to find it, and I finally found it, and I was like,
Where did you
I'm
find it?
ready.
What your networks? I mean, streaming
You know,
service.
honestly, I had to rent it on YouTube. I was like, what
Oh,
the
okay.
heck?
Yeah.
Yeah, normally I
Yeah.
thought you just push the button
I
and the
have a
movie
Mm.
come.
Fire Stick, so
Hold
I'll
on.
be
Let me
watching
ask
it on
my
my Fire
kids. It's on one
Stick.
of these
It's
networks.
on Amazon Prime. It's Amazon
That
Prime, and
Amazon
honestly,
Prime, right?
Tanisha, the thing is, when you asked me, I was like, okay, I didn't know you was gonna watch it before. I was gonna tell you like Amazon Prime, you know, and you can use my account if you need to. I didn't know, but then you went ahead and girl, you couldn't wait. I should have
She's
known.
all on a budget. She didn't rent the
I was
movie.
I should have
thirsty.
known.
I was thirsty.
I was promised. I was like, I'll just wait to the meeting and tell her she can look at it on Amazon Prime.
But no,
Yeah, I'm
listen,
like, I know I seen it on something.
but I did sign up for Amazon Prime. That's how thirsty I was. And I was like, I'm canceling this when I get out. But I couldn't even do that right. I couldn't even get on Amazon Prime. I don't know. Maybe, of course, it was me. I was doing something wrong. So I just went to YouTube, paid the $3.99, rented it for 48 hours, and I'm good.
Okay,
But I will keep you definitely in mind for next time.
please do. Please do.
Matter of fact, you could just go ahead and send me that information.
Walk her
Now,
through.
Black people. Black people. Okay, I'm gonna send it to you.
You
Black people.
talked about the community. You got to help your sister.
Hey, you,
Look,
hey, I ain't
so
gonna act
that's
like
why
three. I ain't
Netflix
gonna act
going
like
up.
three people ain't on my Netflix account right now.
That's why Netflix going up because we helping each other.
Right, exactly.
Netflix
They
said
gonna
we
find a way.
raising the bar.
Because I think it
Listen,
used to be $8.99. Now we
Girl,
pay
it's $20.
$12.99.
18.99.
I
18.
yeah.
can't. Only reason I have Hulu is because I do the Black Friday special every year. It's $1.99 a month for a year. So that's what I do.
There you go,
Every
Tanisha.
year, I redo it.
I got Hulu.
Okay.
There you
That's
I
go.
good.
saw that. I saw that special too. I was like, damn.
Look, the first year I did it, it was only 99 cents a month, and now it's $1.99. I still.
Uh-huh. That's how they do. Black folks can't have none. They always raise the price when we get a hold of it.
There's too
So then
many of
after
y'all
that,
on one
after that,
account.
after your promotion, you let it go.
No, this is my third year.
Oh, you do it every time promotion.
Yep.
Because
Cancel it
they do it every Black Friday. Every Black
Yeah.
Friday they had a promotion. Okay.
Every
I didn't know
single
that.
one.
I need to cancel my Hulu and sign up for Black Friday. I think I pay $8.99. For what?
Look like $2.12 with tax. Y'all gone. I got that on auto pay.
Nice. Right. Go ahead, just take it out the account.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. All right, so that's all the questions we have for today. We do have to pick the next book, and
Tanisha, why don't